Hi there, and welcome to the Four Lads Had a Dream podcast network. Your bite-sized summary of August is about to follow. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you as always. If you're listening to us across wherever you get your podcasts, thanks again. My name's Scott Patterson. We appreciate your time for the next 20 minutes or so. Joining me to speak about August generally is Sheryl Ritchie. Hi Sheryl, how are you?
Hi Scott, I'm great, thank you. Very bizarre. I've heard it said a lot across social media, but not having Rangers to kind of either cheer up your weekend or completely destroy it as they did last Sunday.
Yeah, it is really, and it's obviously we're recording this on the first international break of the season, and I'm openly admit to not being a great fan of the international break, but I am quite glad of having a Sunday where I'm not rocking in a corner back and forth. So yeah, quite glad of that. So as I say, brand new show to the network, very bite-sized summary for the next 20 minutes or so. It will be about your player of the month and your goal of the month, interestingly enough, for August. I will run through the fixtures in August, Sheryl, just as they fell out for us and how the results ended up. Started off at Tynecastle, 0-0 versus Hearts. A trip to Poland to play Kyiv. A 1-1 draw over there, Sheryl Desser scoring for Rangers. Then we came back to Hampden for our first home game of the league campaign at Hampden, where we beat Motherwell 2-1. Lovely afternoon that afternoon. I was travelling back from holiday, so missed it, gutted. Of course, the return leg of the Kyiv match was midweek immediately after that, and not a great evening for the Rangers fans in and out of Hampden when we come down 2-0 to Kyiv. The weekend after was the St Johnstone game, League Cup round of 16 tie, where we won 2-0, Dessers and McCausland. And the week after that was Ross County and the drubbing, the now infamous victory over Ross County, because we're not allowed to gloat at beating team 6-0 by all accounts. Dessers at the double, Matondo at the double, Tom Lawrence and Danilo. Sheryl, it's obviously a mixed bag of results in there. You want to speak about sort of win. Ideally, it's not happened like that, and it has been a bit of a mixed start to the season, and August has been a little bit difficult in parts.
It has as well, and I think when you reflect on the changes to the team, the ins, the outs, maybe people are going to leave, maybe certain signings are going to come in. I don't know if we can expect anything more than what we've had. We would have hoped for a lot more. Obviously, Scott, you're right with the win. But I think with all the doubt around who was coming, who was going, and then obviously players coming in, gelling together, taking time. We had also the huge issue of being at Hampden for our home games as well, which, I think we reflected on it in the last podcast. Yep, they've settled pretty well. I don't think Hampden, for us as fans, absolutely. But I think in the main, the team have settled well into playing at Hampden, so it wasn't a huge issue for them. But again, it was just another thing around the club as well that caused us to be quite unsettled. So I think with everything that's going on, we would have hoped for better, but perhaps it's understandable that things have been a wee bit up and down.
Yeah, do you know that way? August was right in that area of being a perfect storm as far as just lots of things just not being quite right. And I don't want to get too much into September because we're covering August, but I think last weekend at Celtic Park was very much tip of the iceberg stuff for a lot of the support, as we've seen with some of the footage that maybe happened post-match. That we will cover at the end of September. Sheryl, I do want to speak about sort of player of the month and goal of the month, as I say. Interestingly enough, as I look down the list of scorers, before you give me your goal of the month, by the way, as I look down the list of scorers in August, no goals for James Tavernier, our captain, in that first month of the season, which is it's generally quite bizarre. He's always there or thereabouts. And I saw Stevie and Kenny and Shona speak on Friday evening on the weekend pod, spoke really passionately about James Tavernier and the current situation that we find with him. It's really unusual to look down a list of goal scorers and not see his name in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we spoke about it last week as well, Scott, on the Sunday show, to say that, there's always been defensive frailties around Tav, but what he did give us was that drive going forward, his free kicks, his penalties. He'd been able to create things around the box, but we're just not seeing that. And that's a huge worry for me. And I think that's part of, obviously, you know, there was certain issues last week as well defensively, but the fact that he's offering what seems to be very, very little at the moment is a huge concern. And you're right, you know, how many seasons would we have got a first month in and he's contributed very, very little. There's been nothing from him. So yeah, it's a massive worry.
It's just really straight. I think he's had a couple of assists. I'm sure he had a couple of assists in the Ross County game. But it's just bizarre. And I've only really just clocked that as I'm looking down the list. We do prep for things like this, by the way. It's quite bizarre to not see his name in there, up in lights, if you like. Sheryl, goal of the month for you in August. Tell us all about it.
My goal of the month, I seen in person. I just come back from holiday, but was lucky enough to make it. Scott, was our first home game at Hampden, and it was Tavernier against Motherwell to make it 2-1. That was a really bizarre game. Obviously, we were all there buzzing. Started very, very well. And I think after the Hearts result the week before, it was nice to see, you know, Tav actually played pretty well, first 20 minutes. New players settling in, Proper looked really good, you know, getting a lot of things from Jeffy as well, linking up with Matondo. And then it just we went up 1-0 up. And then obviously there was a defensive muck up at the back, the Proper own goal. So an excellent goal from Tavernier. A bit of a team goal as well. I think it started at the back from Suter to Tav, who then found Tavernier in space. He'd kind of cut in, took a touch, and it was absolutely brilliant. An absolutely brilliant goal. Hit with power, curled right round the keeper, and an excellent team goal as well. But to see, I think as well, we've touched on it before, that Tavernier has that in his locker, and that link up down the right with Tav as well. Because again, we've mentioned it, but the last time we had that probably would be Candias. We had that consistent partnership all those years ago down the right. So that, I think, all gave us a bit of a hope as well. I know we didn't play well across the game, but yeah, that's my goal of the season.
Do you know, it was a really, really good goal.
Sorry, Scott.
Goal of the month.
It'll be my goal of the season.
Your goal of the season, absolutely. Do you know that, Wayne? One thing that I really like about Tavernier just now, and there's evidently elements of bedding in. I think that's quite fair to say. Right winger, cutting in his left hand side all the time. The goal that afternoon was a really good goal. I think you could maybe argue that the Motherwell defending was not up to much from a Scotch perspective, but he took it really, really well. It was an excellent finish. Motherwell goalkeeper was nowhere near it, and it was a good introduction for Tavernier to the Rangers fans at that point. I would argue that since then we've maybe not seen a lot similar from him, which is maybe a little bit disappointing as things stand just now.
Absolutely. And it's difficult to single him out last weekend, and I know we're edging into September here, but I was massively disappointed by his contribution. You're hoping that, you know, guys like Tavernier and Proper, this is their first Old Firm game, they're up, they're buzzing. He just looked exceptionally weak. Now, to be fair, everybody did to a man, maybe out with Jeffy and Igamani when he came on. But again, I think having that wee bit of link-up play down the right, you were quite hopeful. We know what, you know, the issues are with Tav defensively. But having Tavernier in there, would we get a wee bit of joy down the right against Celtic? But he just looked incredibly weak last weekend. Again, like I say, certainly wasn't the only one. But yeah, I was very, very disappointed by his performance.
Yeah, no, it was actually so. For the month of August, I've listed 3 goals, and I can't quite decide. The Tavernier one was, of course, one of them. Excellent finish, as we spoke about. I really liked the Ross McCausland goal in the round of 16 League Cup tie. Of course, it was right at the death of the afternoon. I thought that was a good goal. I also liked the Tom Lawrence goal in the Ross County game. Really good team goal. Comes from right back, if memory serves me right, and we just sort of avalanche our way right up the pitch, and Matondo with a wonderful through pass, and Tom Lawrence probably doing what you want him to. You want to see more evidence of him being capable to do as the season progresses, just offering that little bit of danger with that run as the number 10. So I think it's hard to pick from one of the 3 of them. For the sake of not picking the same one as you, I think I will take the Tom Lawrence goal. Hopefully it's not my goal of the season and we see at least one of his before the end of the year. But three good goals, and maybe three guys who you wouldn't you need to have them on the score sheet. Of course you do, but maybe not guys that we'd look to. Certainly not guys back in May that I was looking to as my go-to goal scorers in August, which I appreciate maybe drives us back to a bigger point over recruitment, etc., which we will not go into on this podcast. As it will be done to death, I'm sure, over the next wee while. I should say a big thank you to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Art of Gold, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning and Black Rooster, all collectively looking after the podcast this season. It allows us to do things like this, so we're very grateful for their support, and we will be continuing to promote them between now and May next year. Player of the month, Sheryl. Goodness me.
There can be only one.
Absolutely. Go on and tell us about him.
Connor Barron, my new favourite. Rangers player. I just think, you know, for a 20, again, we've touched on it on that Sunday show. Please join us from 9 o'clock every Sunday. We've touched on it previously, but for a 22-year-old to make the move from Aberdeen down to us and to not look remotely out of place, to get in, to get himself about. I'd seen somewhere, I think 4 appearances, his pass accuracy in the low 90s, but his confidence, it doesn't look out of place at all. He puts himself about. The work that he does as well, going back and helping out the fullbacks. And I think one of the main things for me with Barron is the partnership, the way that he's gelled with Diamondi. Yeah. Obviously different types of midfielders, but the way that they complement each other and the way that they play together as well, I think he's just been a huge positive for me. He gets stuck in. I think we've really missed, particularly the sort of middle to end of last season, somebody that's able to go and win the ball back for us. I think that's been a huge thing, and I think he's been incredible. And obviously we've seen that he's got that Scotland call up and joined the team this week as well. So no, I think he's been brilliant. I am disappointed, obviously, as we touched on before, with Tavernier. He just looked a wee bit lost in the Old Firm game. But we all did, to a man pretty much. The entire team did as well. I was just hoping that he would be the one in that game that would go and get stuck in. But again, when you're playing in a team that is doing as badly as we did, it's very, very difficult. I get that. But no, I think we almost have to put that game down to a horrific day at the office and not dwell on it too much.
On Barron, one of the things that I really, really like about Connor Barron, I think he's performed really well since he came in. I don't think anyone thought for a second when he came in he was going to be one of the first picks for Clermont, namely because there was lots of rumours at that point about guys like Kenny McLean, etc., being sort of highly coveted, and the interest from us was just as much as the interest from him. And I think a lot of people expected him to come in and be that main midfielder. It's now Connor Barron, as far as I'm concerned. Connor Barron seems to be the go-to guy for Philippe Clermont in the centre of the pitch, which I think is quite exciting. Having a young Scottish guy in there, a young Scottish guy that is evidently doing the business. You correctly referred to his call-up. The one thing that I really, really like about him is his dig and his vocal approach to the game.
Yeah,
you see him having a go at guys that are older than him and guys that may have been around in the Rangers tapestry for the last couple of years. I've seen him having a go at the captain. I've seen him having a go at guys like John Souttar. That's impressive, and it's a quality I think. Previously, I've seen sort of Scottish midfielders go into that Rangers team and just look a wee bit lost, and the jersey almost instantly becomes too heavy. He doesn't seem to be like that. He seems to be really confident. He seems to be, for a young guy, incredibly aware of where he is and what he wants to do. And you know, I see a lot of people mentioning maybe Jack Butland if James Tavernier was to disappear as a captain tomorrow, for example. And I'm not suggesting that Connor Barron should be given the captain's armband. However, I think you could argue that he could be in that chat based on what we've seen so far. Now, I don't know if that is maybe a reflection on the other players in the squad just now, which I get it may very well be. But the way he's playing just now, he's influencing everything that we do on a weekly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I made a comparison a few weeks ago, a sort of young Stuart McCall type player, that midfield terrier that gets in and about things. I don't think you're going to get a lot of goals from him. He's not going to run at men a lot, take the ball with him, but that's fine. We don't need him for that. That's where his partnership with Diomande next to him, I think, is going to be key for us. And you're right as well. I suppose we do have to look at him in the context of what's around him at the moment. But no, I think he's done incredibly well, Scott. And it's just whether, to me, he's not a number 6 at the moment. He's playing in that number 8 role. He's back helping the defence. And I would be really interested to see if Bajrami comes in as the 10, him and Diomande with Bajrami in front of them as well, slightly as well.
So that's a great point, because I think because Bajrami has arrived basically after the Old Firm game, and no one's seen him unless you were watching him from abroad. Like on your stick last night in the Albania game. I think he's largely arrived and people have almost forgot about him. So I think there's going to be a real excitement about seeing him when he plays and where he plays. Interestingly, Albania played him last night. As I say, we're recording an international break here, but interesting, Albania played him off the left. I would be really keen to see he's surely here to play in the 10, which allows Diomande to drop back in and to continue to develop, as you rightly bring up. The relationship that he's developed with Conor Barden is definitely one to watch. Other guys I have on my list, and this will be interesting. Some people will think it's clickbait. By all means, get in the comments and let us know what your goal of the month and your player of the month is. I think John Souttar has had a relatively decent August. Lots of different centre half pairings in there, whether it be Balogun or Proper in there as well, of course. So he's been relatively constant in there. I would argue maybe the first choice centre half now. I don't think it's an argument to say whether he's the best centre half at the club. Again, different podcast for what we'll do here, but he's definitely someone who Clement obviously trusts and has in and around. Sheryl Dessers scores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goals in August. We cannot speak about Sheryl Dessers in that sort of player of the month category, can we?
How much did Shona pay you? That's just a shout out to our pod sister Shona.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, but again, it was something we had discussed after the Ross County game, Scott, and he was excellent there. Do you know, his all-round plays, hold-up plays, linking play against Ross County was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But then we fast forward to the game at Parkhead, and this is my worry with him. Yep, against those smaller teams, brilliant, and he can take a game and give you the 1-0. It's not even as if he's just chipping in with goals to maybe make a 2 or a 3-0 or whatever. You know, he did it last season against St Mirren. He will give us those kind of goals that get us 1-0 up or whatever, but it's doing it in that bigger arena. Now you can argue he did it in Kyiv. He got that equaliser in Kyiv, but is he able to do that consistently up there on his own? I have my doubts. I really do. I would love to see him do well. I really would, but I still, for me, he's a big concern. Yeah.
So I think we agree that the play. So the goal of the month was probably between your Cherny v Motherwell effort and my Tom Lawrence v Ross County team goal. And player of the month for August, from our perspective, certainly. And it is only that, before people go mad in the comments, is probably Conor Barden.
Yeah.
With special mention.
Out, Scott, a wee honourable mention as well, if you're going to go down the routes and maybe including Dessers. I would say Jefty, a wee honourable mention for Jefty as well. I think he's linked up incredibly well with Matondo. I think he needs to be careful around daft bookings. I think he's maybe got himself a wee bit of a name here. We've seen that in the home leg against Cave. Obviously, that was absolutely ridiculous. But he did, am I right in thinking he got a booking at Parkhead last week as well, that kind of almost nullified him slightly. But I think he started incredibly well. The less said about Matondo, the better. But their partnership down the left has been pretty positive as well. Again, it's just transferring it on to those bigger games where we need something from them.
Yeah, no, that's entirely fair. One of the things that, and I think we spoke about it actually, as far as Jefty is concerned, was, and I was stunned when I saw this. He's younger than Robbie Fraser. And for some reason, I don't know why. I think you often think that the youngsters at Rangers that are in and around the periphery of the squad are always going to be 19, 20, 21-year-old. And Jefty's younger. And I think if I was to move to Brazil and play the position I prefer to play, I would certainly not be able to do it in the manner that Jeff Day's doing it coming across. So you're absolutely right.
I'd be interested as well to see what happens when Ridvan comes back.
Yeah.
If Jeff Day's then pushed up a wee bit further in their partnership as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, before we wrap things up for August, because it wasn't great, your general assessment now. We obviously know that sort of the trip to Celtic Park has pretty much ruined us for the international break, which I understand. Again, 0-0 at Tynecastle, drawing the first leg in Poland against Kyiv, home win against Hampden, crashing out in the Champions League qualifier at Kyiv, and then 2 wins, one in the Cup against St Johnstone and a big win against Ross County. Is it a decent start for Philippe Clement this season, do you think?
That's really difficult because even that cup game, I think the first half it was quite laboured and obviously finished 2-0, but I think it's just about getting the team to gel, making sure that everybody knows their roles, getting everybody into positions you want them, and we still don't know. I know there's a couple of transfer windows open. We're looking at freebies as well.
Yeah.
The Hearts game, a massive disappointment, and obviously that starts off the panic early doors, and it is really hard. I mean, we can criticise fans for being reactionary, but we're exactly the same as well. Do you know, it's such a, I think, Scott, at the moment, to be able to sum it up, I think we're living week to week, really, which is quite a bizarre thing for us, you know, because you can look at last season, we had certain big games coming up and you would look ahead to them because you knew that the ones in between would pretty much take care of themselves.
Yeah.
But even our bread and butter games at the moment, with how unsettled everything is, you can't take anything for granted. And I think that's kind of permeating the support just now and everything around the club. There is this negativity. There is all the issues around the board, around the stadium, around certain players as well. August, I don't know if we could, with the way that everything is, I don't know if we could expect anything more. We're still in the cup. We have dropped points. That's hugely disappointing. But we scored a lot of goals and we did see what this team can do at times, albeit against lesser opponents. It's now just taking that and putting it in against your Aberdeens, against your Hibs away. Obviously, we've got Celtic in January, so getting ourselves up to speed. I know that Clement has said as well, you will not see the best of this team until October, November time. Well, we've got a month to get ourselves to that, will we? I don't know, based on what we've seen so far, but we can live in hope.
Yeah, indeed. Sheryl, thank you for reviewing August with me. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Don't forget, this week across the network, you will have the usual guys. Andrew, Kenny, Shona and Stevie will be back. Probably a couple of junctures this week. I think they'll be back beginning of the week as we record tonight on Sunday. And they will certainly be back as they preview Dundee United next weekend. I should add as well, Stevie Clifford and I will be around on the network at some point this week to review the start for the women's team, which of course has been quite disappointing with results against Atletico Madrid and Arsenal over the weekend. However, generally, good start to the league campaign. Katie Wilkinson scoring every time she has the opportunity. So there'll be lots to discuss coming across the network this week. Again, a big thank you to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Alter Gold, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning and Black Rooster. Sheryl and Doogie and I are back next Sunday night. So that'll be Sunday, the 15th of September. And we are back at 9 o'clock. If you can join us, then I really urge you to do so. Don't forget, like and subscribe and comment, put the notifications on. So each time you get any content, or each time we release any content, rather, you will get a notification and you'll be able to check it out for yourself. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited and CSD Air Conditioning, along with Art of Gold. Thank you for listening or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.